right, welcome back, everybody. Day 11 of distance learning. I just wanted to talk to you today. So we're really going to look at the lines of defense in your immune system. We're also going to start to kind of think about how vaccines work because we're going to talk about that in the next lesson that we do. So bear with me. Let's get started. So the objectives for today, hopefully we should be good with describing nonspecific defenses against pathogens. A nonspecific defense is a general defense, and I'll get to that in a minute. Talk about skin and mucous membranes and how they're the first line of defense. There are 3 lines of defense. So by the end of today, you should also know how to talk about those and talk about the inflammatory response. So these are the 3 things that we're doing. Again, if at any point you're like, hey, I don't understand this, email me, message me. I want to make sure that this kind of makes sense to you, just the basics of what we're looking at. All right, so why does the immune system exist? Why is it important? To protect us. Ultimately, your body is set up in such a way that it wants to make sure that you are always going to survive anything, right? That's the reason we have homeostasis, which is maintaining internal balance and conditions. But also the immune system is saying, hey, if there are foreign invaders trying to attack me, I need to protect this body, and I need to make sure that they're not going to get past the certain lines of defense that I have set up. All right, so I just put some vocabulary here. No, you don't need to memorize all of this. It's just if you see this on the slide and you want to know, you can always go back. You can screenshot this, whatever works for you. I also have the immune system video that should give you some more vocabulary there as well, the animated one. Okay, so the 3 lines of defense that we have, I love this image because it just kind of breaks it down for me, and you know that I'm all about keeping it simple. So for me, this would be like gold. So your first line of defense would be your skin, mucus, secretions in the membrane. The skin and the mucus, the skin is a physical barrier, right? Mucus tends to be a chemical barrier because it's going to trap them if they're entering. And then your second line of defense, again, both of these are non-specific, meaning they're going to defend against anything, and we'll talk about why I'm saying that. But that includes your inflammatory response system, which is super important and critical. Your third line, this is specific, and this develops over time. So these first 2, line 1 and line 2, you are born with. They're considered to be something called innate immunity, meaning everybody in the world is born with it, unless you're born with a compromised immune system or some sort of immune disease. The third line is what happens as you grow, right? You get exposed to more and more viruses, different bacteria, things like that, and your body is great at remembering and learning and cataloging all of them. Okay, it's almost like you have this special task force. Need I say more? So I compare this to kind of like the military, okay? Your first line of defense, it's a general barrier. It's a fence, it's a gate, it's a wall, it's a moat, which is that, river that goes around a castle or something. It's going to protect you from anybody, even if they're not trying to attack you. Your second line, it's non-specific patrol. These are things that are moving around more. So we tend to find them in your blood. So a leukocyte, a macrophage, those are in your blood. Phagocytic white blood cell, that's what WC stands for. A phagocyte or a phagocytic cell is something that eats another cell. It will engulf it and eat it and destroy it. And then your third line is the most specific. These are your elite trained soldiers. These soldiers are like, hey, I know that this bacteria or pathogen is bad. It's not supposed to be here. I only go after that pathogen. Okay, and we'll talk about how that looks. And that's called acquired immunity. You acquire it or develop it as you age. So first line of defense, again, the skin is part of this. It's non-specific. Okay, and we talked about skin. Saliva, mucus, tears, all of those things. So if you're outside and like there's a huge dust storm, you're going to notice that the first thing is your eyes kind of tend to close and your eyes are going to start to water. They're not watering because you're so sad because you hate the wind. They're watering because they don't want that dust to enter your body, because they don't know, your body doesn't know that dust won't kill you. Your body is just like, this is some foreign particle and it's not supposed to be here. All right, so we talked about the skin. I'm not going to get into it too much, but you know that there's a certain pH and that's about it. Mucous membranes, leave that alone. All right, so your second line of defense will be this innate, it's a rapid response. All of these cells, these are various types of leukocytes, right? We have an NK cell, a natural killer cell, macrophages, monocyte, mast cells, all those things. Those are important, okay, because they're gonna, if a pathogen gets through that first line, they're gonna kill them with this. Now, the inflammatory response is the biggest piece here. That's the most important piece. So what really happens with the inflammatory response? Let's say in this image, you get a splinter. I don't know, I'm just making this a splinter. And the tissue gets damaged. It sets off a series of events known as the inflammatory response. So what's gonna happen is they're going to pick up these chemical signals and they're gonna say, hey, that's not supposed to be here. The first thing that it's going to happen is you're going to get redness, heat, which means the area will feel warm to the touch, swelling, so it might swell up, and you'll get a little bit of pain. And I'm sure that you've experienced this. If a bug has bitten you, if you've gotten stung by a bee, any of those things, your inflammatory response is what kicks in. Now, why does it do that? It does that to keep you healthy, right? It does that to keep you safe. It doesn't know that it's just a splinter or something. This idea of the release of histamines, don't worry about the prostaglandins, but the histamine part is super important. Why do I say that? So if you have allergies, like seasonal allergies, you might experience something like this, okay? So you're like, maybe not the heatness and swelling part, but you breathe in some pollen. Your body doesn't know that pollen won't kill you. And so it's going to set that off. And that's why things like Benadryl, which are meant to treat allergies, are called antihistamines. What they do is they take the histamine and they block it so it doesn't cause this response to happen. So it doesn't cause your nose to start running, right? To start getting red, for you to start sneezing, all of those things that happen. So this just gives you a little bit more on what happens in the inflammatory response. Okay, and this is just another little picture, just giving you kind of like a step-by-step. The chemical alarm, that's the histamine. That's what that is. All right. So kind of going through this today, I just wanted to get your mindset around this. Please, 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 if there's any questions you have, anything that you're struggling with, I know this went by quickly, but I'm hoping that this explanation and the videos will help you. Please feel free to reach out. Have a lovely rest of the day.